What you're about to see here is a match that the blue team probably should not have won, but spoiler alert, we are going to win it. Now, maybe that's not much of a spoiler if you tuned into my last stream. That's where this match happened, at the behest of a viewer who asked me to play the Tier 7 Premium American Destroyer, Summers. It's a ship that I don't play very often, and I'm not really here to talk about the Summers, other than to say it's more of a torpedo-focused destroyer, whereas the rest of the Americans are perhaps a little bit more gunboat-focused. Not that this thing doesn't have good main battery firepower. It does, after all, have 8 guns, which is more than most Tier 7 destroyers, but it also has 12 torpedoes with long range, good alpha, and really good detectability by sea. A little bit scarier, I would argue, than even the nuclear-tipped IJN torpedoes, which do hit very hard but are much more conspicuous in the water, and also, I think, tend to spread out a little bit more than these American torpedoes. Anyway, we're not really here to talk about the particulars of this destroyer, but instead the happenings of this match. So you can see things already developing. We've got 3 ships over near the Charlie Cap, and there's 9 ships on our team. The other 6 of them are over here near Alpha as we enter it, and we have our RPF or twist and track indicator pointing into that gap between the islands, so we're going to send some torpedoes over there. There are 4 destroyers on the enemy team, and undoubtedly the RPF indicator is indicating that at least one of them is in that direction. Maybe we'll be able to catch one with a torpedo. But we are preparing to leave the capture circle if we run into strong opposition and have to abandon it temporarily. Always a good idea to have an escape plan in mind when you're contesting a cap this early in a match, playing a destroyer like this. Reversing closer toward where the enemy is undoubtedly coming from. Maybe we'll pick one up, or one will pick us up before we see it. It's the split as we hit a torpedo on whatever destroyer's behind him. The split is probably the worst thing to run into in this scenario, considering he has radar. He's not using it to its full effect, though. He's deploying the smoke screen first, and only then does he deploy the radar. If he had done it the opposite way, he could have extended the duration of the radar, but luckily he didn't, so we are able to escape relatively unscathed. The biggest problem there is that we already burned our DCP, and the split hits us with 1 HE shell that, of course, sets us on fire. But our escape plan works. We are able to leave the cap, disengage from all the pressure. There is a Cleveland out there. We don't want to be any closer to him. He could take us out very easily, but being this far away, well, maybe not that big of a risk. Now we'll push back in, though, since it does appear to be only the Cleveland out here and this split, along with whatever other destroyer may be lurking around. We've got a cruiser coming up to the island. We've got a battleship pushing into the cap. We've got another cruiser further back. But things are starting to go south for the blue team. 2 out of 3 of the ships that went to the Charlie Cap are now back to port. There's only 1 destroyer left over there. And this is, of course, a domination mode game. There are 2 ways to win domination mode games. The best strategy is to secure the majority of the capture circles and then hold them for the majority of the match so that you overtake the enemy on points. Alternatively, you can sink all of the enemy ships, but even if you do that, sometimes if they have cap control, not always enough to win, and the enemy team is securing Charlie. They've only got that destroyer to go through once they finish, so they'll be able to swing down to Delta and secure that too, and that is going to put us in a bad place. But luckily, we do take down the split. Well, we don't. We get a fist. Somebody else does. And 3 out of 4 of the enemy destroyers have been eliminated. There's only 1 left. It's a Friesland, and it's all the way on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, we have secured control of the Alpha Cap, and for some reason, this Massachusetts in the center has decided that he needs to push out toward us. That's not going to be a recipe for success. There's a thing that happens a lot in World of Warships Legends, and it goes back to what I was saying a moment ago about the 2 methods for winning domination mode battles. What you'll often see is a team that takes control of the majority of the caps, like the Reds are about to do, And again, once you've done that, you've secured the win conditions. You get 4 points from every capture circle every 3 seconds or so. It might not be 3 seconds, might be a little longer or shorter than that, but basically, if you have 3 caps, the enemy only has one, you're getting 4 points from each of the three every tick. Enemy team is getting 4 points from only one, so it's not too long before you overtake them. Once you secure them, what you need to do is play more defensively. There's no reason to continue pushing into the enemy team after you've secured all the capture circles. If you do that, you're opening yourself up to a game of throws. And that is basically what's going to happen in this game. Now, of course, we've spawned with the Delta cap. We have Alpha and Delta secure right now, but Delta is not going to be secure for long. Majority of our team, actually our entire team, is concentrated on this side of the map now. The enemy team has wiped out whatever was on the Charlie side, and so we're sort of trapped between these guys pushing in from Delta and anybody that might be north of Alpha. Luckily for us, it's just the Cleveland up there. Otherwise, things might be going even worse. We're at risk anyway, of being caught in a hopeless crossfire if there are more ships to make that crossfire happen. We need to go back this way, though. We've recognized that early because we need to do something about this enemy push. If they are able to take this Delta cap and hold on to it for the majority of the game, they're going to win. But apparently, they're not all that interested in winning. The Amalfi, for some reason, comes out of the center of the map right into the Alpha cap alongside a battleship, a cruiser, and there's another cruiser further out here. I don't necessarily think that's the right move for the Amalfi. Maybe a little bit more defensively, but we'll see how it goes. Meanwhile, Bismarck, who's been spotted this entire time, probably should know that there's a destroyer in the area spotting him. And, well, not just any destroyer, but what you could call the American Shimakaze with its 12 torpedoes. We've got all 12 of them heading the Bismarck's way. He might be a sonar-equipped battleship, but if he's not running that, he is sailing in a straight line and he's broadside. So these torpedoes look like they might yield some good results here. Meanwhile, we've got Friesland, who apparently we outspot pushing in. Our spotting him is allowing our teammates to shoot him. We do land 2, 3, maybe 4 torpedoes on the Bismarck. Yep, there's 3 and 4. That nearly takes him out. Not quite, but he should be a lot easier to finish off now. And we slow down, perhaps a little too much, get spotted by Friesland. That's okay, we can smoke up. We've got teammates in the area, and Friesland has shot his guns. So he'll remain spotted even while we're smoked up. Should make it a little bit easier to kill him. We do have 4 guns, or 8 guns rather. He's only got 2, but he's probably got better DPM than us, so we don't want a straight 1v1 gunfight that's fair. Friesland smokes up, too little too late. We're able to secure him for our second kill of the game, and we can perhaps at this point turn our attention back to Bismarck. He did take 4 torpedoes, and at least one of them caused a flood, so his DCP is probably on cooldown. If we can light a fire, should be permanent at this point. And we've still got the benefit of the smoke screen blocking his line of sight from us. Plus, whatever cruiser is in the Delta cap also can't see us, being behind an island. Friendly battleships and cruisers are chiming in against the Bismarck as we do get spotted. Not ideal, he's got those secondaries and they can hurt us. However, we're able to take him out for our 3rd kill of the game, and we're nearly up to 100,000 damage done. Now what we have is a situation where we've only got the Charles Martel, which is one of the last remaining enemy cruisers, alive somewhere near the Delta cap. He just got spotted now. And then we've got the Cleveland over there north of Alpha, who has managed to survive the entirety of this battle. If he just had some help with him over there on the red team in the form of another cruiser or a battleship, well, then my team really might have been in trouble. But as it stands now, this game is winnable. All we have to do is secure 2 of these caps. And Cleveland, like I said, is on his way back to port. He's got no HP. He should be easily sunk by one of the 2 remaining cruisers, which will allow the friendly Smollend, who's headed into the center of the map, to take the Bravo cap. But Cleveland still doesn't go down. It looks like he's turning into the Bravo cap along with the Smallland. And here is where things really could go south. The enemy team does still have the win conditions secure. If this Charles Martel and Cleveland back away from the capture circles and protect them, that's all they need to do. They just need to stop us from taking the capture circles right away. And if they can hold on to them for the next couple of moments and simply survive, well, they're already ahead of us on points by more than 100. So they'll be able to maintain that lead and win. We're going to do everything in our power to stop that, of course. Smallland is inside of the Bravo cap, and the reason I wanted to show you this battle is because of what he does near the end. I think it's important to always take note of the state of the game. We're about to flip the Bravo cap if that Smallland has his way. Cleveland is pushing in to contest him, though, but Cleveland has no HP. In fact, he has so little that Smallland is able to take him out with his guns. Great. Now Smallland can secure the Bravo cap, but that's still not enough. The enemy team is still ahead of us on points as we get a fire that the Charles Martel will promptly put out and net ourselves the high caliber medal. But even if the Smallland takes the Bravo cap, it won't matter. The enemy team is still ahead of us on points, and if we hold 2 caps to the enemy's 2, then we are accruing points from those 2 caps at the same rate as the enemy. And so if they're already ahead of us, they'll stay ahead of us. What we need to do is either take another cap and hold on to it, or alternatively sink the Charles Martel to win the game. Smallland is about to secure Bravo, and we, as the Charles Martel goes behind the island, take a cheeky shot at him, light another fire. He'll promptly DCP that, I'm sure, so not much damage to be had from that. But he appears to be headed back to Bravo. Apparently, he'd rather go against the Smallland than the Summers. Not exactly sure why that is, but fair enough. He's headed back that way, and he's being spotted by the Smallland for the benefit of our last remaining cruiser teammate, who is on full health and is admittedly going to come in clutch for this battle. It's a Shimanto, which is maybe not the best main battery cruiser you could ever ask for in a situation like this, but don't worry, he will be useful. Now I believe we're spotting him as he comes around the island. Smallland is taking a couple of shots. Looks like he gets some damage in on the Charles Martel, but he gets spotted in return and promptly loses about 1/3 of his HP to one single salvo from the Charles Martel. We lose sight of him. We're going to smoke up just in case he gets spotted again. At least that was my thinking. If we're smoked up and we can farm him without him being able to shoot back, probably a good thing. But in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have deployed the smoke, because I think if I hadn't, we would be spotting Charles Martel right now. However, there's an easy way to win this battle. This Smallland does not need to push into this Charles Martel. All he needs to do, now that the Charles Martel is in the Bravo cap, is get into Alpha far enough away to not be spotted by Charles Martel. Or not Alpha, Charlie, sorry. He needs to get into Charlie far enough away not to be spotted by the Charles Martel, and simply take that cap. The score is 718 to 789. There's a minute 32 left to go. If we hold 3 of the caps for that time, we will overtake the enemy team on points very quickly. Probably before the Charles Martel could even get back into the Charlie cap and take it. But of course, that's not the decision Smallland makes. He decides to be aggressive and go against the Charles Martel with his guns, where he's spotted. And of course, Charles Martel, it's a ship that I play to end every stream because it's a very good damage dealer. Takes down the Smallland, and that very well could be the throw for this game. There's only a minute left to go. Less now, and the score is 709 to 831. It's crucial, if your goal is to win games, to understand how these domination mode games work. You got to look at the score in situations like this if you're the Smallland. You got to observe that you're really close to the enemy team on points, and that you don't need to take any unnecessary risks. The enemy team has already given us all we need to throw this game. They pushed when they didn't need to. And ultimately, they end up paying for that. The Shimanto is able to finish off the Charles Martel thanks in large part to our spotting, and we end the game with over 3,000 XP. So, I hope you found this interesting. I don't mean to pick on the small end player too much, but I think his actions are important for people to see. That very well could have been a throw, if not for the Shimanto's ability to end the Charles Martel. If it was just me, I could have tried to shoot at him and maybe I would have sunk him, but I really did need help from the friendly cruisers. So GG's to that guy. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.